Welcome back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and thank you all for sticking with me through this journey. One of the cool things that I've been able to talk about on this podcast is that there is a love-hate relationship with social media. And the love side of that is that I get to meet some really cool people, meet some really cool families, and be able to share their stories as well in a platform where they don't have to worry about whether or not that ban is going to come down and take their videos away. So we get the opportunity today to speak to Katelynn, and she is going to speak about her daughter Lila, who is currently fighting ATRT. So Katelynn, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk about Lila and about how this journey, or shit show as my wife would call it, started.
Yeah, well, life was normal as a normal family. My husband and I got married 2 years ago, and Lila came in the world 3 months later. So it was a really quick journey, and everything was just so normal in the beginning. We were such a adventurous family. We loved to travel and see new things. So my husband and I traveled across the country with Lila when she was 6 months old, and a lot of my identity is in being a mother. I absolutely just adore it. And yeah, it's just been a crazy journey, from the beginning. Our life has always just been so fun and so exciting. And now it's not fun, but it is still a very crazy, exciting journey. Lila was born in August of 2023, and everything was so happy. Normal baby, normal Lila. She's hit her milestone so early. When she was 9 months old, I found out I was pregnant again with her little brother, William. And that was just, not expected, but we were like, okay, we're here for the ride. And the day that I went into labor, we said goodbye to Lila that morning. It was 4 a.m. and she was already awake. She was like, Mommy, go back to sleep, Lila. She's so sweet. But I think she knew that day was going to be a day forever marked in our brains, because she was, like I said, up at 4 a.m. She gave me a hug goodbye. And that day is the day we found out that Lila had a brain tumor. We were at the hospital, and my husband and I were in the delivery room, and it was 8 a.m. and I was like, we haven't heard from your mom. You need to text your mom and ask if Lila's okay. And it's because Lila had a seizure and she was in the ER and we didn't know it. And so he texted his mom, but she didn't tell us anything at that time. They waited until they had answers, and the doctor came and told us at noon, I'm so sorry to tell you, but your daughter has a mass in her brain. And I was 8 centimeters dilated. So it was not something that I was expecting. I don't think anyone ever expects it, but when the doctor came in to talk to us, I really thought that there was something wrong with William. I did not think in a million years it would be my 18-month-old daughter. But then I just started crying, and I said, I just want to see Lila. And he said, we will let you see her, because they were getting ready to transfer her to a children's hospital. And she came up to our room, happiest little girl ever. She is just playing with everybody, playing. I'm like, Lila, give Mommy hugs. She did not want to sit down anywhere near me. She wanted to talk to the nurses. She was laughing. So it made me breathe. She's okay. Yes, she had a seizure. You would not know it looking at her. You cannot look at that child and tell me she had a brain tumor. And from there, it's just been nonstop. Just something after another. But now Lila's 2, and she's still full of energy, and she's doing good given the circumstances.
Well, it's quite a whirlwind, although just parenthood in general is just crazy. Yeah. But to have something like that happen, especially at that time, I can imagine some of it, but not that part of it, And so I want to ask, was there any symptoms that were shown prior to her having those seizures? Anything that you would have looked at to think that there was something wrong, or was this completely out of the blue?
So obviously I can go back and I will point out things, and my husband will say, no, that's a normal toddler behavior. A couple weeks before she had her seizure, she was tilting her head to one side constantly. She just kept doing this, on her tumor side. And I just kept thinking, that's so weird. And my husband noticed it too, but now looking back, he doesn't think that was a sign, but it is. It is a sign of a brain tumor. And the only other thing is that she was so lethargic. She just wanted to snuggle all day long. And I was, 36 weeks pregnant, and I remember her being really cuddly, and everyone just kept telling me it's because the baby's coming. She just wants to cuddle with you because she can sense the baby's coming. She's just not feeling good because she knows that Like kids can sense that. But I mean, looking back, I'm like, was that a sign? She had a pediatrician appointment 2 days before her brain surgery because it was just her normal 18-month checkup. And I remember being in that appointment, and our pediatrician had already seen everything in the chart. He saw us there, gave us a big hug, and sat down and was like, last night, he said, when I saw that everything that happened, he goes, I went through all of her records. And he goes, I looked and I looked and I looked. And he's told us, he said, you did not miss a thing. There is nothing that could have told you she had a brain tumor. He goes, she's been a normal, happy baby. So were there little signs? There might have been, but she had no throwing up. She had no signs of illness. Just one day she had a seizure.
And honestly, I can sympathize and empathize because I know my family's been through this. We've been through this with our daughter, and I know for us, it was always, now it's kind of go back and look at pictures and go, okay, maybe something was there. Maybe something was there. But absolutely, as parents, there's nothing that we could have done more to catch what was going to happen, because as much as the medical community doesn't want to immediately jump to a conclusion like that when you come in with constipation or headaches or whatever, you're not going to as a parent either, or you don't want to. And so you're not going to say, okay, well, this is what it's got to be. I mean, especially me. I mean, I was in denial all the way up until the moment that we were told, yes, she has a mass. And they're very careful, at least for us, and I'm assuming too, is that they call it a mass. There's a mass in there. There's a mass. And I mean, until for us, then the neurosurgeon came in and said, I know exactly what this is, but I have to get it out to confirm. And it's scary, but you're in that position where you put all your trust in the medical community, and you put all your trust in that and your pediatrician, and they go back and they do their due diligence. Ours called us as soon as the diagnosis came and said, I'm so sorry that I didn't catch this. But yeah. What was there to catch, right? What was, and that's the unfortunate thing, is that we're part of this pediatric cancer community, but we are also part of this elite group. And when you think of elite groups in your life, you want to be a part of elite groups, absolutely. Not this one. And that's the brain cancer elite group, part of childhood cancer, because it is the most misunderstood, I think misdiagnosed. There's not enough tools in the toolbox to fight this type of cancer in children. And none of us as parents, when we get that diagnosis, do they come in and say, hey, they've got a great shot, we're going to take care. They're going to do everything they can, right? And you're not given. I mean, I know our oncologist sat in front of us and said, this is what it is, and the outlook's not good. And then he walked away. Like, that was it, And what about, hey, we're going to work on this. We're going to find a way. The truth is, I just don't think that the tools are there. I don't think it's a doctor issue. I don't think that they don't want to help. I think they don't have the tools to give us the opportunities. And some of these kids do really well. Some of them don't do really well. And the reality of it is that the medicine doesn't transfer sometimes. You get, depending on what hospitals you're in, they have different opportunities. We're in Milwaukee, and that's where we were treated. I think you're treated at CHOP, correct?
We're at Duke right now in North Carolina, but we are going to CHOP for radiation.
Okay. And all of those different locations, right, will have different options or different tools that they're able to use and give you, I don't know necessarily different outlooks, but different, abilities for you to treat your child. But honestly, I guess that would be a question then, with your oncology team, with the tumor board, which I don't know, I hate the name of it, but, number one, we're not ever a part of it, which I don't like.
Yeah,
I wish as parents we were able to sit there and, and not just get the word afterwards. But what have they given you as far as not necessarily outlook, but maybe options to be able to be treated and where your best options are?
One of the, in the beginning, I felt like no one talked about like prognosis. No one told us what it really was going to be like. They just said, this is the protocol that we follow. But no one told us what her chances were until we talked to our transplant doctor here at Duke. And he went over the graph with us and said, so with the protocol treatment, which is ACNS 0333, she has a 50% chance of survival. And he goes, those are great odds, was how he followed it up. And my husband and I, okay, 50 shot of our daughter surviving. And then I remember our oncologist, once we switched hospitals, our oncologist here at Duke looked at us and said, yeah, this treatment hasn't changed since 2003. Like, this is the same treatment that they've been doing for, 20 years now, and it hasn't changed, and they don't have any other options to give us, and it's a 50% chance at her surviving, and that's all you can tell me. So with Lila's case, her tumor is a more aggressive subtype that is typically not responsive to chemo. So the fact that things are looking good so far, her next scan is in 2 days. So I don't know what the status of her tumor is, but before we started high dose chemo, it had showed promising outlook. So that's, good, I guess. None of it's good, but it's better than some. And we have some hope, but at the end of the day, it's still in the background that she has a 50% chance of relapse. If she relapsed, she has a 15% chance of surviving. And so we'll know here in 2 days if the chemo worked, if radiation is going to be helpful. But my biggest fear is in February when it's her yearly diagnosis, a year from diagnosis, what's the scan's going to say? Because she'll be done with treatment at that point. And if she relapses, there's not a whole lot of options. We have maybe 2.
Yeah, there's nothing good to say about any of this. I'm trying to find a silver lining somewhere, and I can't. And I just think back to something that I said. I sat in this very room literally the night before our daughter passed, and I made a video and having no idea what was going to happen. And somebody had commented on social media saying, if a child only has a 15% chance to survive this, why would you put them through treatment? Why would you put them through any of this aggressiveness? And my answer to that, and you can agree or disagree, is that a 15% chance to us we're going to take all day, because there's a 100% chance that we know what's going to happen if we do nothing.
Exactly.
And so, 50% survival rate, 50% whatever. Yes, we're going to take every measure possible to try and beat this, but like you said, we're now in a situation where we're putting these chemicals, these drugs, these treatments into our children that haven't been updated. I mean, our phones update every week, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? And our computers go out of date every month, but yet we can't get better treatments for our kids, especially for brain cancer. I mean, I know they brought us in a piece of paper. They said, here's your options. There was one. There was one option for us to choose, and that was it. And it's here you go. This is what we're going to try. And we've reached out to, I think that they confirmed with Seattle Children's and Sick Kids in Canada to try and get an idea. There was nothing else. And second opinions were the same thing. Yeah, that's the best option we have. But, we're put in a position as parents, to make these decisions often on the fly in the middle of the night without the opportunity to, Google everything, which can be a nightmare for parents. I would tell you not to do it, but we all do it. That's the first thing we did when we got the diagnosis, as we were on the internet trying to figure out, okay, well, this is good, this isn't good. And what do we do from here? Honestly, what do we do? And what do we do in those positions when they're saying, okay, this is your option. If it doesn't work, then we'll have to have a conversation. But what is the conversation?
That's what they kept telling us too, was they didn't really give us an option. They just told us what the treatment plan was. And then when I mentioned well, what if relapse happens? They go, we'll talk about it when it does. I'm I want to be one step ahead, because I had 2 days. We got our diagnosis call on a Monday. They called us over the phone and told us what it was. And my husband, they called him, and he was at work. So then he called me, and I'm holding our newborn baby, trying to fold laundry, and I just start bawling. I knew that it was going to be an aggressive tumor, but what you're telling me it's one of the more rare tumors now, and it's something that's going to be even harder to fight. Was any of it going to be easy? But now it's just the odds felt like they were getting smaller and smaller. And so we had 2 days. He called us on a Monday. Wednesday, we went and actually met with our oncologist, and I had no idea what to expect. We sat down, and they just handed us a sheet of paper and said, this is the protocol that we follow for this tumor. And they had, talked to other hospitals nearby before they gave us the sheet of paper to tell us that. But that was it. That's all they said. This is your option.
Yeah, and you as a parent, you shoulder the weight of really doing that research to find out if there's any other options out there, clinical trials, that kind of stuff. You're searching. But unfortunately as well, you're just a parent, right? We're just average parents. I've been told that and whatever. But I've also told people in the past, because of everything we've been through, because of what you are going through currently right now, I've been asked, do you think you're smarter than a doctor? I've said yes, not because I went to school for it, but because I don't get to clock out at the end of the day.
I know my child better than that doctor knows my child.
100%.
I can treat her 100% better. Like I know her symptoms. I know what's the best option for her. And the doctor just looks at a sheet of paper. Like they read a chart. And I'm very lucky that at the hospital we're at now, we have an amazing team. And they really have been on top of everything. And they have been amazing to Lila. But it's not always the case.
Right. No, it's not. And it's unfortunate because I tell parents every day that you're the best advocate for your child, and that when you're in an appointment with your oncologist, with your team, whatever, you are at that moment their only patient. Your child is their only patient. I don't care how many people are backed up in the hall. I don't care about your golf game. I don't care about any of that. If I have 400 questions in a notebook that I want to ask about this, I'm going to ask about every single one of them, and believe that we're doing our research on the outside, because I know I ask questions. Okay, what about this? What about this? Why didn't we do this? Well, this, and this. But you have to listen to us as parents and know that we're not just crazy people. We get to go home every single day and look this in the face, knowing that that child is suffering. And they don't understand. As much as, listen, these kids, they know a lot more than we give them credit for. Their first words at this point are chemotherapy drugs. You know what I mean? They know what this stuff is. They understand what happens when they're going to the doctor. Some of them, our daughter would flush her own port. They give her the syringes and let her do it, and that's their control, right? But when we go to the doctor, it's like we're asking these questions. We need you to respect and accept that we're not trying to make you look stupid or undermine your authority. We're trying to do what's best for our children. And our hands are tied in the sense that I can't call another hospital and ask them to do this or that. I need you to help move that along.
Exactly.
If the best place for me to be is somewhere else where there's a team that maybe understands this better.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, and I will kind of jump onto this part of it, when our daughter was diagnosed, and we felt like we were on an island. Like we knew nobody else in this community, and I will be the first one to say that I was ignorant to the fact of how prevalent this disease is within kids. No idea that once you become that parent, you're not a cancer parent until the day you are. Once you become that parent, you're reaching out, you're looking for that support. How quickly did that support find you, or did you find support to be able to help you navigate this journey?
I was honestly blown away by the amount of community support we had gotten. I was the same way, where I never really fully understood childhood cancer. I remember scrolling on Facebook, and I would see a post and I would scroll past it because it made me uncomfortable and I wouldn't read it. Now I stop for every single one. But our support, I was honestly blown away by. I recently moved to North Carolina last year with my husband. He's from here. He grew up here. This is his world. And when we moved here, we had joined a church just like I wanted to go back, and we just walked in as strangers. And so we had been going to this church for less than a year when Lila got diagnosed, and immediately we had a meal train. We had meals for 3 weeks at our door. We had we hit our goal on GoFundMe within 24 hours. We had to raise it because we hit $5,000 in 24 hours. And my parents were immediate to want to come out here to be here with us. My husband's parents were immediately like, what do you need us to do? We'll do whatever you need. All hands on deck. I mean, the community that we had behind us, I never expected, because I grew up all over the place. I've never had a sense of community. I've just lived wherever my parents moved me to. And I've had to make my own community growing up. So to just be in a very small town where everybody knows our name, everyone knows Lila now. She's like the poster child of our town. It was really amazing. I've never seen people come together so quickly to support somebody, especially not everyone knew Lila. They saw her face, but they didn't know her, but they were so quick to help in any way that they could. And that has blown me away. And now online, I started posting about her, and same thing, skyrocketed the amount of followers that I have gotten, and feeling that support from people I've never met on the internet, sending me care packages for Lila, sending me letters for Lila. I cry almost every time I get one, because I just can't believe that somebody that had never met us would want to help us.
I will say that the power that these kids have, just being who they are, just draws in the amount of people that it will come. And I remember, and I still have text messages on my phone that I have no idea where they came from. There's no name in it, nothing, that got my number and said, I just want to let you know that this is what, your story, and I read about JC, and it touched me, and I want to let you know we're thinking about you. And it's incredible. It really, really is, because these kids, I'm telling you this, like, I want to change the perspective of the world 100%.
Yeah.
And take everything out of it, all the BS, all the politics, take it all out of it. Just talk to one of these kids for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. They will change your perspective on life. They will take all the hate out of your heart. They will take everything. They will just make you think this is what it's like to be just incredible, genuine, and innocent, and not let anything else bother you. And what that does for people's psyche and for people's day-to-day lives that have never met you and never met these kids, but they see what you're doing as a mom. They're seeing what Lila's doing. They're seeing what these kids are doing, and they see that and they go, wow. And what am I so worried about? What am I so angry about? You know what I mean? Like, even now, I mean, obviously it's double, because once you're in this, it hits even harder. But, I've made the joke before, the man flu is a real thing. Okay? It's a real thing. We're big babies. I get it. But now that I've been through all this, it would take a Mack truck to make me say, I'm sick. I'm sick. I need to go to the doctor. I'm sick. I need whatever. Because I looked at what my daughter went through and what all these kids went through, and I'm like, what the hell am I bitching about? Like, what is so bad about anything right now? And then it just comes to what you see on the outside. And I just want the world to calm down and just understand that there's a whole population of kids that are fighting the worst fight of their life. And they're doing it with a smile on their face. And they're doing it thinking, why is everybody so upset? Like, I just want to be a kid. I just want to have fun. And it's incredible that, but all that coming together is that support from your community, that support from the internet. Social media, like I said in the beginning, it's love-hate. It really is. Yeah. And you will also find a lot of internet and TikTok doctors out there that will tell you what you did to cause Lila's cancer, what you did wrong.
Apparently, me feeding her McDonald's is going to cause her to die, and I should, that's my fault if she dies. Not the cancer, the grade 4 tumor in her brain. That's not what's going to cause her death, but I gave her chicken nuggets, so.
Oh, it's 100%. 100%. Yep. My daughter, it's her fault, because at one point she put food dye in macaroni and cheese because she wanted pink mac and cheese. And she was called out on the internet for, you caused your sister's cancer because you did that. It really is truly incredible, honestly. It really is truly incredible that the amount of people that have medical degrees from the University of Stupid. It's incredible. But listen, you take it with a grain of salt, and a lot of these times you want to clap back at them and make whatever. And I did a lot of it. Okay, scroll back in my TikTok. I did a lot of these videos calling people out, and it gets to the point where they're not worth your time.
It's not worth my energy. My daughter is worth my energy, not these stupid people that will never understand.
And the reality of it is, what I'll tell you right now, I don't personally want people to understand what we feel, what we're going through every day. I just want you to understand that there's a real problem. There's a real issue. Our kids are going through something that, as parents, like, our number one job is to protect our kids, right? That's what our job is. And from this, we couldn't stop it from happening. There's very little, I don't care, again, what the internet doctors say, there's very little that we can do to prevent these types of things, especially brain cancer in kids. Nobody understands. Nobody understands why it happens. I mean, unless, you're not living under power lines and you're not, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's a million different things. Kids with liver cancer, they weren't at the bar 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Kids with lung cancer, and it happens, they're not smoking 2 packs a day. I mean, it's like, you can't associate all of the things that you can with adult cancers, and not all the time, okay? Sometimes that stuff is just crap luck. But for kids, it's almost always crap luck. It just happens, and there's no rhyme or reason for it.
I asked our oncologist that very question, like, the day we got the diagnosis. I said, why? Why her? Like, why did this happen? And she just looked at us and was like, it's just your luck. It's just, I don't know. It's just spontaneous. She just happened to get it. because with childhood cancer, it's genetic mutations. It's not anything that I did, that Lila did, that my husband did. It just happened they don't know why. They really don't. It's just random mutations that happen. And it's not hereditary. Some childhood cancers can be hereditary, but Lila's is not. It just randomly happened. And even if it was, it's still not my fault that she got it. It's not anyone's fault.
And I was going to, when they were, and I'll ask just because of our own personal experience, but when we were in the hospital and they did this tumor resection, and then they came around and asked if they wanted us to do genetic testing for both my wife and I. And our first question was, is that genetic testing going to show a probability of where this cancer came from? And they said not necessarily, and we declined because we said we don't want to find out that it came from one side or the other and then have that lifelong resentment towards each other for what's happening with our daughter.
Right. The only thing that was our concern was for our new baby. We just had a baby, and our oldest had cancer. So we did do our genetic testing. They said genetic testing was good for ATRT to know what subgroup you're dealing with. And so when they did the genetic testing on her tumor, they just did on her tumor, and they said that her deletion is not the one that's typically hereditary. So we did not do any genetic testing with my husband, me, or William. But they said that even if it was something that was a hereditary trait, that the odds of us having it as adults were very low. It was just more of a concern for our.
Sure. No, it's understandable. And like I said, it just, for us, it was really, really we do not want that to come between us because we have two older daughters too. And that was one of those things where it's yeah, we would love to know if there's any type of probability this could happen later on. But, we're at that point, you're still in shell shock, I think. And we decided to hold off and really just kind of focus on her treatment. And it wasn't actually until a year ago that I was able to finally get her tumor from 2021 actually sent to testing at CHOP and Gift from a Child to where it can be utilized to possibly come up with something for other kids fighting this down the line. And that's important, I think, is to be able to do that. And did Lila have a total resection of the tumor?
She did.
Okay.
So they, her scans have been weird. No one can tell me an exact answer. She had a total resection, and then they did an MRI 2 weeks later because she had a seizure. And they just wanted to make sure, because after her seizure, she was, acting a little wonky. So they're like, let's just do an MRI to make sure her brain activity is okay. And when they did that MRI 2 weeks after surgery, they saw something. And so they noted it as potential tumor regrowth. And our oncologist was like, don't worry about it. She just started chemo, so the chemo's not even working yet. We'll just wait and see. Wait and see. Famous 2 words. Yeah. And 2 months later, after she finished her first 2 rounds of chemo, they did an MRI again, and they didn't really have any more answers for us. They just said, oh yeah, there's 2 persistent foci, so just 2 persistent spots in her brain that may or may not be tumor. So she was labeled as partial response to chemo. But they told us, again, don't worry about it because we'll just wait and see. We'll just wait and see what happens with the next high dose chemo. So that's the scan now that she's getting in 2 days. We're waiting on to see if the tumor is still there. Did it go shrink? Will she need a biopsy? Will she need another, I don't know. I have no idea. But
I don't know how it can be such a common phrase amongst pediatric oncologists and people in that field to tell parents to wait and see. To me, absolutely not. I don't understand. I guess it completely blows my mind. I mean, I had a specific incident with this during a relapse with our daughter, and that doctor was no longer allowed to be around our daughter. And not because he did anything necessarily wrong. It was because he refused to get a test that I thought was absolutely necessary, that he wanted to wait till the morning. And she was essentially in a coma for 10 days. I said, no, we're doing it right now. This whole wait and see situation, that's the biggest issue, right? I mean, I'm not saying that adult cancers are treated in a way where they know all the answers all the time and this is what's going to happen. No. But adults can tell you how they feel, what's going wrong, what's going right. They can drive themselves to treatment. You know what I mean? They have the ability to do what they need to do to live their life. Kids are in a situation where wait and see that shouldn't be even a thing. It should be around the clock trying to figure out how to fix this and make it better, because when we're dealing with cancers like this, ATRT, I think, is one of the more rare type of brain cancers. It affects a very low, we're talking less than triple-digit numbers. Choroid plexus carcinoma, that's what our daughter had. Again, lower than triple-digit numbers affected every single year in the U.S., and the survival rate sucks. And it's not by any detriment to what these kids go through and how hard they fight it. It's the options. The options just aren't there. And you're searching and you're searching. And yeah, we're going to be internet warriors and Google doctors all day, because we're searching for that one case that was treated 10 years ago in the UK in a hospital somewhere, that one doctor. And you do everything you can to find that one person that can say, hey, maybe this could be a chance. But at the same time, like I said before, 15%, you're going to take that chance, because there's a 100% chance that we know what's going to happen if we do absolutely nothing. But it just drives me crazy that your best answer is, let's just give it a month. Let's give it.
And it's crazy because the tumor is so aggressive. So when people were telling, like, why did you decide to do chemo? She had a full tumor resection. Like, why would you move forward with chemo? If you leave it alone, she could die literally in a month. That's how fast it would grow with no treatment. And even if she didn't get surgery, like literally, I don't know, because kids, it just overnight, things can change. It grows so fast. It's so aggressive. And you're telling me you're going to wait 3 more months. 3 months. That is a long time, because the tumor in the first place probably was only growing for a month. And it already got to a sizable, so you want to wait 3 months? They grow fast. And things change quickly, because with kids, like you said, you can't tell what their symptoms are. They just will play just as hard. Even if they're not feeling good, they play really hard. And so you're looking for every little sign. My daughter's 2. She can't tell me. She told me the other day she had a headache, and I panicked because she pointed to like right where her tumor's at. And I'm like, but the doctors, they're like, she's just a kid. She's just 2. Like, you don't. But she knows. She knows when she's in pain. She tries her best to vocalize it, but you can't. You're looking for every little tiny thing that they do differently. Is that a sign? Because they play so hard and they just bounce back so fast that this is how tumors go unnoticed to begin with. It's because kids are just resilient to it all.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and like I said, and like you said too, the symptoms can be. They're weird. They're sporadic. They don't necessarily draw you to think that something is majorly. Your kid gets sick, they throw up. They're kids. We all, when we're human, that happens. Or they wake up and they have headaches. I have headaches too. They're probably stress induced, but I mean, I have headaches too. And they get up and they live their day. And with these brain tumors, especially the symptoms are extremely strange. And like with our daughter, the symptoms were hit in the morning, and then she's fine through the day. And then you think, what the hell is going on? And for me, and I can honestly say this with the most regret in my heart that I've ever had, is that I thought she was faking it in the beginning, because I thought she didn't want to go to school. I thought she didn't want to be around whatever was going on, because she would feel like crap, and then later in the day she'd feel just fine. But then you'd pick her up from school and she'd say, my stomach hurts. And it's like, they were all over the place, but nobody looked at it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to figure out, okay, this is what's really wrong. And then it takes a massive symptom, like her eye turns all the way in, like cross-eyed, and like, okay, we've got to get this checked out. And then you're rushed to a hospital 2 hours away, and you're in the hospital for 2 weeks as she's getting, brain surgeries, and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And it's like, we're seeing all of this, and we're trying to figure it all out at the same time, navigating just being a parent, or navigating other children, right? Navigating, a newborn. And, you're trying to figure all this out and wrap your brain around it and think, this can't possibly be anything but, whatever, and I don't know how prevalent this was when I was a kid. I'm 44, but you grow up and you get sick, and like, we laugh about it now. We had chicken pox parties, right? You get sick, go hang out with your friends, get it all and get it done. Now we all take vaccines for the chicken pox, and you don't get it. And it's like, and then you watch the commercials on TV and you think, that's terrible, that's sad, but you probably change the channel because it's horrible to look at, right? You want to scroll past it.
And you always think, not my kid, not my kid.
100%.
That won't happen to me. That won't happen to me until it does.
Yeah.
And it is your kid. And it could be your kid. It
100%.
changes literally overnight.
And it does. And that's the biggest push with trying to get more awareness about this disease, is that it wasn't any of us until literally the day before, or the day of. It was not literally like the day prior. So for us, January 29th, world is kind of crazy. Daughter doesn't feel good, but you know what? We'll figure it out. January 30th, your daughter has cancer. You weren't any of this. You weren't part of this world. And the reality of it is it can happen to anybody at any time, because we just don't understand why it's happening. And that's our biggest hindrance, I think, is misunderstanding, and not so much that people don't want to listen. Yes, I think people don't want to be part of it, and I think people don't want to be associated with it, and they don't want to think the worst. But listen, you know what? If you ever get out there and advocate and you walk into a politician's office, what's the one thing they all have in common? Pictures of kids on their desk. And that's your in. I'm sorry, but that is your in. And I've been run over too much in this community, in this world, trying to get, words out there about these kids and stuff. That could be you, Mr. or Mrs. Politician. Any single day of the week, you could wake up and one of those kids could be diagnosed with cancer. And would you care then? Would it be a problem?
Yeah.
Our kids deserve, you know what I mean, to just be out there playing, not worried about going to the doctor, not worried about getting their ports accessed, and not worried about taking propofol, which our daughter hated. She said it tasted funny and fuzzy, and having to get put to sleep, and these MRIs, which, again, and you can tell me how Lila was, whenever she had to have an MRI, our daughter was put to sleep. In the very beginning, man, did she wake up angry at us. Angry. At the end, It leveled out a little bit, but man, she's like, you know what, you guys can leave us there at all.
I always hate when Lila has to get put under anesthesia because I think she's always weird. My husband thinks that she just naps the rest of the day, but she acts so much different, and I don't like it. Especially the surgery anesthesia is definitely different than what the MRI anesthesia is. I don't like when she gets surgeries. Every time her face gets really swollen, and they just keep telling me that's probably just normal. I'm like, why is her face like a balloon? That's not normal. But every time she has to get put under it for every single MRI. And then when we go do radiation here in a couple weeks, she'll have to get put under every single day to get her brain radiated. And that's a lot for a little kid to go through. So the rest of our day, once we do radiation, it doesn't affect her blood count. So we technically, could start doing stuff with her. But we won't be able to because she'll be put under anesthesia every day. So she's going to be off every single day. She's going to go through treatment. And even if it's only, we'll be at the hospital for only a couple hours, the rest of the day is kind of like just hanging out, chilling, because she's not going to be up for anything. And it just sucks. Like, she's 2 years old and she won't be able to just experience life in the normal way.
Right. And how many rounds of radiation is she scheduled for?
30.
Okay.
So we'll be there for 6 weeks, and hopefully everything goes well. Our plan is to go to CHOP, but we just got a call on Friday that our insurance still did not approve it, so they're still fighting, trying to get it approved. And we're supposed to know by this week if we'll be going or not.
Don't you love insurance?
Yep, they know best,
I'm convinced that any doctor that works for an insurance company, meaning the ones that deny or approve your claim, sold their soul. Because the thing is that, and you can attest to this too, but I know we've all in this community dealing with insurance companies that deem something not medically necessary, which is amazing to me. Not medically necessary, and then you question it by saying they're sending you the form saying it was deemed not medically necessary. And I've always called. And I said, and I've responded with, do you think I'm the one that put in the claim for this MRI, for this test?
Right.
It was her oncologist that decided this was necessary right now. And who the hell are you that's sitting behind a computer screen looking at a document saying, well, you know what, it's not medically necessary. What does that even mean, not medically?
2 months after she got her first GCSF, so 2 months after, we got a letter from our insurance saying that it would not be covered. And the reason she got it in outpatient, she got it in clinic that day, and she got it because she was supposed to start chemo on Monday, and it was a Friday, and her counts were too low. And you can't start chemo, and you have to be within 2 days of not taking that for you to start chemo, right? So they were trying to get it really stocked up so she could start at least by Wednesday. So like she won't be able to start Monday anyway, but maybe by Wednesday. And starting chemo right away is so important because this cancer grows back so fast. And yeah, we got the saying that wasn't covered, and we just handed it to our medical team, and they said that they would take care of it for us. I never got another bill, but I'm like, how am I supposed to argue this? I'm not the one that gave it. She's already got it. It's been 2 months ago. You want me to go back to what day was that in my brain that she received this? And also, even if she wasn't getting chemo, she would still need that boosts your white blood cells. That makes your body be able to fight against disease. And her counts were so low. You're telling me that wasn't necessary for her to be able to have enough white blood cells that a common cold wouldn't kill her? It's just crazy that insurance can look at things. And so far, I haven't seen anything since then. Our hospital does a really good job of calling them before it gets to us. But now with this, with radiation, our big holdup is that there's a proton radiation center 2 hours from where we live, and we're trying to go to Philadelphia. And the reason that we're going to Philadelphia is, one, our hospital is like been partnered with them for years. So it's just so easy for them to just send us right up there. CHOP has been doing this for years. And the proton center that just got opened up in our state opened up last October. I've talked to another family that went there. They had nothing but good things to say, but they're like, yeah, they've done like 3 kids this year so far. I haven't put my 2-year-old in their hands. They've done 3. What? I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're a great facility. I would want to go somewhere that has experience with what they're doing and sees it every day. And CHOP is specifically a children's hospital, not just a big hospital that also can treat children.
Right. Right. No, you're right on track with it. It's number one, you always trust your mama gut. That's what I've been told. I absolutely believe it, but that's what I've been told. And you go where you feel the safest and where you feel like your child is going to be treated the best. And it's, again, unless you have an absolute animosity towards a hospital or a staff, you're doing what's best for your kid. And again, they'll look at it and say, yes, they're probably better. They're better trained to do it. They've been doing it longer. And they're not going to have ill feelings, and that's where you go. That's where you go to get her treated, and that's nothing at all ever against any parent at all. If that's where you feel like you need to go, listen, we tried. We went to a different hospital to have radiations done because it was closer to our home and to have her chemos done. But any major surgeries and things like that, we knew we had to go to Milwaukee, and that was fine. That was understood. They worked together, and the teams were in communication, so that was good for us. But at the same time, traveling can be difficult with families, especially state lines are very difficult to do sometimes. There's a lot of red tape. We were in DC in February trying to get some things going that would eliminate some of that red tape and make it a little bit easier, and hopefully one day that comes to fruition so that we can just, you can take your kid where the best treatment is. And if that means CHOP or Lurie Children's in Chicago, or if you're going to New York or Texas Children's, wherever you need to go from wherever you are, should just be like 100%. There shouldn't be denials in place or red tape in place to stop you from doing that. Especially if you have health insurance through an employer, you're essentially paying into it. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, isn't the cost going to be the same? It's the same treatment wherever she goes. And we're not asking for them to pay for our travel. We'll get it there. So that's my why can't we just go where we feel is best needed if it's going to cost the insurance the same anyway? But it's the state line. That's what it is. It's because we're going through state lines, and that's what makes it difficult.
Yeah, it definitely makes it hard, and that's hopefully they'll be able to kind of find a way to smooth that stuff out, because that is, you want to go where and I'll tell you firsthand, and you again agree, I'm assuming treatment for a child going through cancer is extremely expensive. And if you yes, insurance is paying it, and a lot of insurances you are really good and they pay it, and you're not paying a lot out of pocket, and sometimes you pay none. But it's ridiculous when you get the bills and you look at them and think, how in the hell is anybody supposed to survive with the treatment costs that are like this?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The hardest thing for us has been, my husband lost his job through all this. I was a stay-at-home mom, and he lost his job. And so we haven't seen anything on the treatment side of it, but we don't have an income now. We're very, very blessed with what we've gotten through GoFundMe, and that's just what we use to pay our bills and to eat groceries, and be normal. But that's been the biggest like curveball, is that through treatment with having a newborn and having a 2-year-old, we both needed to be present for our kids. It was not like he could still work with his job. It was too demanding. He could not, he had just gotten that job. He had just gotten it in November and she got diagnosed in February. So it just was, they tried their best to make it work. He worked all the way up until I think April, and then it wasn't what was best for our family. And that's been the hardest thing, is that now we're trying to navigate what, like, what do you do go from there? Like, our daughter needs us. We don't want to be away from her, especially when they tell you she has a 50% chance of dying in the next 2 years. How could you go to work every day? He's like, I don't want to be away from her. He goes, I don't care. We just won't have money. Like, I just would rather spend time with her and be broke than go to work and never see her. Especially when the odds are, they're good odds, but no. He's like, I'm not going to work. Well, we will make do with what we have. I don't care if, like, as long as all of our kids are fed and we're fed and everything's fine, it doesn't matter.